Central Florida's positive hits and hip hop. This is your hot, and joining me this afternoon, Mr. Jon Keith. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good. I wanted to kind of get people to get to know you a little bit better. They've heard maybe some of your music on Hot, but gotta get to know Keith, Jon behind the scenes and stuff. So you're a West Coast guy?
Yes, sir.
From where?
San Diego, born and raised.
Nice, very cool. And how long you been doing music now?
Oh man. Started.
That's an open-ended question.
You start to feel old when you start to, think with the years. Nah, I mean, I'm not old, but I started when I was 18. I'm 27 now.
Okay, cool.
So you've been 9 years.
Yeah, doing it for a minute. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. And now, obviously, you're married now. I heard about that.
Yeah.
How long you been married now?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
just had a little boy in
awesome.
January.
Very cool. So now you're a dad. This is awesome.
Yeah.
How's that?
Also making me feel old.
Right. Exactly. Right. That's good. So how is your wife just taking care of the kids at home?
Yep.
So?
Yeah. Just take care of the little guy, and I come out here and do this.
Yeah. So you're doing it good. I heard an interview with you, and you did it with our good friend Ruslan.
Yeah.
He's good
That's
people too. Shout out to Ruslan.
That's my guy.
Yeah. And you had your take on Christian music and what it could be is a little bit different than I've seen other artists, and I thought that was pretty cool. As far as an artist is concerned, you've seen CHH where it's been, what it's doing. You see a lot of the new artists, the No Big Deals, Stephen Malcolm's, these other guys. What are your feelings about where Christian music is going?
I think it's going in a really good place, and I don't just say that as a blanket general statement. I do think there are people like No Big Deal, like RG, like Holvey, that are doing something that is pushing our space, as we say, into a new a creative direction, a direction that is also attractive to people that that maybe don't know Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And so it's someone who grew up in church and is used to the lifestyle of and the language and the constant just vocabulary of Jesus and wanting to get closer to God, all that, they're already gonna gravitate towards the music that we make, but I think that right now we're also going in a direction and a way that there's people who maybe have never heard any of that, and they hear some of the music and they're like, oh, this is
it's good.
Yeah, it's I this is not what I would have expected Christian music to sound like,
right,
or a Christian artist to sound like. And I don't know if music itself can be it can't be Christian, right?
Right.
Christian is someone who puts their faith in Jesus, and so it's not what I expect a Christian artist to sound like. And so I think that makes it more accessible, And so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we've seen the Caleb Gordons and these others that are kind of pushing the envelope, getting out on TikTok and Instagram and all this other stuff. I mean, I have friends of mine that have never even heard Christian music. And they're like, yeah, I heard this guy named Caleb, and I think he's pretty good. And he's talking about God.
Yeah.
And I think, don't you think with the way that TikTok and Instagram and the climate that we have, that are people obviously looking for hope.
Yeah.
But obviously, don't you think that CHH kind of sticks out like big time because the message is so blatantly?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's it's just like what you said, everyone's looking for hope. And I think that even if they don't, I think even if they don't know they're looking for hope, they're looking for hope.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that I've dealt with a lot of, pushback, kind of wanting us to be in a place where we're just feeding the people that already have hope, right? We have hope in Jesus.
Right.
And, and so I think it's dope. It's dope to be able to say, this is music that you can give to people that are looking for hope. They haven't found it yet, you know. And Caleb's another one. Like it's so interesting. Caleb, you know, tapped into an audience that has actually never heard any of us,
right?
And still,
right, are
like, oh, I love this, and I want to be a part of this, and I want to pay attention to this. Yeah, I think it's
pretty dope. It's awesome. It's good.
Awesome,
now, obviously, you've collabed with some guys like Clesso, and I think you said Torn Wells and some other stuff. Who else have you collabed with that people might know? A whole bunch, right?
Yeah, I mean, KB, Lecrae, Randy Mineo, Bill, you know, Hovey.
Yeah. That's good.
1K Few. They're all, those are all my friends that are, you know what I'm saying? Like the one of my favorite things about, you know, Christian hip hop is just it is a very close knit community.
Right.
You know, for the most part, you know, people are like genuine friends. Like Dill and Clesso are actually some of my best friends. I would never tell him that because I don't want him to know. But
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they are some of my best friends that, you know, it's like, you know, whether we do music or not, you know, it's like, you know, these are the people that we're conversing with every day, you know, and so, but because we are conversing every day, it's like, oh, let's do music.
Yeah, that's good. What was your influences, you know, growing up musically? You know, what artists, mainstream or Christian, what's really spoke to you over the years?
Yeah, so like I had, you know, I grew up, you know, looking up a lot to Andy Mineo and KB, but then on the other side as well, like sonically, I thought, you know, like Kendrick Lamar was the most amazing music I've ever heard in my life, you know, and so, yeah, you know, it's a cocktail of all these different artists that are just different and the same and all these,
That's great. That's good. Let's talk about the new song, God's Hand.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell us about how that came along and how that came about.
Yeah, God's Hand is, you know, just, it's a record that like serves as like a reminder for myself actually to kind of live with open hands, you know. I think that like our walk in life, everything comes back down to whether or not we trust God, right? I think that I genuinely think that almost every struggle that we come against, the reason it's a struggle is because of we're having moments where it's like, oh, am I experiencing this more than I trust God? Am I trusting that this, you know? And so this was a thing that I wanted to, it's actually funny, I actually wanted to remind other people, you know, live with open hands, like, you know, like put it in God's hand, like you can trust him. And then, you know, in the process of it, it's actually funny, like God used my song and my lyrics to speak and minister to me, you know what I'm saying? And that was not like an intended thing, but it's like, you know, a lot of the things that are said in that, I'm like, oh man, yeah, this is actually a daily struggle for me. And it made me realize, okay, this is, when you have to constantly put things in God's hand, you're reminded of, oh wow, like this is actually a struggle every time. I think I maybe need to focus and meditate a little bit more on like being intentional to trust God. You know,
it's true. That's good. We will love the song. I mean, it's a unique sound for you sonically, I think, as far as experimenting. And the thing I love about a lot of the artists like yourself and Clesso and some others, you're kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit musically. There's these guardrails I think that we're all trying to see. And it's pretty cool to see what God's doing, especially with artists like yourself and some others.
Oh, thank you.
It's good. Finally, one song that really has spoke to a lot of people over the years is your song, Everybody Else. That song, I got more responses on that one across the board just because the fact that it had so many great, the words in it, obviously, you made a music video about it and everything else. Tell us about Everybody Else, because I know it's going back a couple years, but
yeah, I mean, no, but I mean that is that, you know, it's like you said, the more I, you know, go through life, I'm just like finding out that that's like a staple song for people as far as my music and my catalog goes, and which I love, because I think for one, that's, to me, I feel like that's one of the most important songs I've ever written. And it's one of my favorites. And so, that song was I had a person in my life that I'm very close to that was struggling with, mental illness and suicidal ideation and like just some heavy stuff, and he was reminding me of myself, right? Because I've struggled with that, and I was like, it's this thing like we have this human like propensity to we go through these things and we want to like hide away and like try and like go figure this out ourselves, and it's like part shame and it's part like fear and it's part, oh, what are people gonna think, and like, oh, I'm the only one. And so I wanted to be like, you know what, that feeling that you have, like, no, I have to deal with this because I'm broken. It's like, you're right, you're broken, but you're broken just like everybody else is broken.
Absolutely.
And so like let's walk through this together, And so yeah, I mean, I'm like so blessed every time someone tells me how much that song has touched them. So
good. That's great. Awesome. How can people get in contact with you? Website and
Instagram? On Instagram,
all the socials.
TikTok, all that. It's just Jon Keith, Jon, not John.
Right. Gotta have that. Okay.
Keith, Jon Keith.
Awesome. Very cool. Nice to have you, man.
Thank you so much.
More on Hot. Thank you so much for joining us.